Geography is a dynamic system operating across multiple scales. Each scale is influenced by forces both larger and smaller than itself. From vast tectonic shifts that shape continents over eons, to the way the morning sun warms a sheltered valley, from planetary circulation patterns determining rainfall belts, to the pockets of edible fungus thriving in a damp cave, each scale of geography informs and reinforces all the others. The layers of these scales are like a tiered structure. Each level is nested within the next. At the top, you have that broadest scale, things like continental drift, ocean circulation, and global wind patterns, factors that decide where temperate zones lie, where deserts form. Beneath that, you have a regional scale, defined by mountain ranges, coastal plains, plateaus, inland seas. These features shape more localized climates, how much rainfall an area receives, how mild or harsh its winters can be. Zooming in even further, you encounter that local scale, river valleys, forest clearings, lake shores, and estuaries that produce microclimates. At the smallest scale, you have microenvironments, individual hillsides with unique sun exposure, glades that capture the morning dew, hollow logs where mosses flourish. Each of these scales is both affected by and contributes to the levels above and below it. In world building, acknowledging these layered, nested relationships is one of the keys to forging believable worlds. You can start with that largest scale, continental arrangements, atmospheric circulation, ocean currents, and make sure that they all make sense together. Then you can move inward to determine regional landforms, climates, ecosystems that logically emerge from your global setup. Then descend to the local. Where would cities logically arise? What resources do they rely on? Finally, add those micro details that enrich and differentiate one area from another. Unique plant life, subtle weather quirks, famed landscapes, hidden springs. At every step, test for consistency. Do those local conditions plausibly arise from the broader geography? Do those individual choices made at the micro level resonate upward, leaving subtle marks on the greater whole? The result is a geography that is not random or arbitrary, but one that feels organic, as though it developed naturally over millennia. Readers or players don't need to consciously track every scale for the setting to feel authentic, but they will sense the underlying coherence. So the question when world building is not, do I take a top-down approach? Do I take a bottom-up approach in constructing my geography? It's not from hyper detailed local descriptions bereft of context, and it's not from only looking at those massive worldwide questions. Instead, it emerges from each scale, global, regional, local, micro, knitting all of those together, each informing the other. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to world build everything at once. Ultimately, a believable scale does not depend on instant completeness. Richness and coherence can come from consistency and logical growth, being mindful of these scales and how they interact. You can begin with what matters most to your story's immediate needs, and you can branch out from there as your narrative or gameplay calls for it. You can do that through organic development as long as you're mindful of these scales. Even a world with believable depth can begin from a few well-chosen details. You can allow your world's features to emerge gradually, guided by the demands of your story and the growth of your own understanding. This gradual approach can make the process more manageable. Instead of bearing the burden of forming entire continents, complex climate systems, and intricate trade networks at the outset, you can start small. And I understand if you're on Reddit or elsewhere, you might be looking at these massive questions about your world. But maybe the best thing to do is take a step by step approach. Focus on one city and its immediate surroundings, a known river, a nearby forest, a distant mountain line. And as your narrative unfolds, you can add further layers and details as needed, filling in your world piece by piece just when you need it. This incremental approach to world building will provide room for creative flexibility. Those early choices that you make about major landforms, cultures, or histories, they're not going to lock you into some rigid constraints if you haven't defined the regions on the other side of the map. As long as you have an understanding of making believable choices about scale at each step, you'll be able to just sketch out what you need. So whether you take a top-down approach, looking at those major questions about your continents, your tectonic plates, your ocean currents, or a bottom-up approach, looking at, say, a single city and working your way out from there to the geography around it and from there to the broader world as you need it, the important thing in either case is to recognize that you have a hierarchy of scales and that you need to understand how they're connected. And even if you're just sketching out either a layer above or a layer below, that you understand how the choices you make will affect those other scales. Thank you guys again for watching. Everything I do, all of the videos that I produce for this channel, my main goal is to improve the procedural map generator. If you've liked following the development of the procedural map generator or you just like these videos, please hit like and subscribe below. It helps a lot. Thanks.